Well, moving into our next segment of the day, you guys seem to be enjoying these longer episodes, so hell, we might as well bring you the news. If you recall, about 2 weeks ago, we talked about reparations here on the show. And one of the many solutions, that's in air quotes for those that's listening to the audible version of this, or audio rather, is somebody proposed of giving $800 billion in reparations just through the state of California. And when I talked about it, I presented it as satire, even though it was real, of a task force listening to this proposal. And I treated it as satire because I was thinking, this is crazy. There's no way that they could be serious about implementing something. Like, you had some nut job just proposing this that's a complete idiot. But no, this might actually happen. You sitting down? Thank God you guys aren't living in the state of California. Some of you are. So what are they smoking out in California? Well, let me tell you. You don't want to answer that question. We don't really know for sure. But what we do know is how exactly the Golden State's government is seriously considering a reparations package for its black citizens that would cost at least minimum $800 billion. Yes, with a B. Making sure you hear that correctly. Billion. California is currently in roughly $777 billion in debt. But again, you have these politicians that know nothing about money, a bunch of idiots. Following the death of George Floyd in 2020, you have California Governor Gavin Newsom signed legislation creating a task force to look into creating a dollar amount or other ideas that would make amends for historical wrongs against black citizens, chiefly slavery and Jim Crow era laws. California never legalized slavery, by the way. That should be noted. Now the task force is nearing its July 1st deadline when it has to submit its suggestions. The panel to the near $1 trillion figure by consulting with a group of economists. On Wednesday, the panel will vote on which number to submit. So it's very plausible that something like this could go through. The Associated Press estimated about 2.5 times California's $300 billion annual budget. It also does not include a health inequity payment of $1 million toward older Black Americans. So that's why it's at least $800 billion. The news outlet noted that consultants told the panel to err on the side of generosity. One of the panel members encouraged her colleagues to keep her mind open to it all. Now, before you think these leftists are so open-minded that their brains have fallen out, not all Black Americans will get the payout. Now, there was another proposal, by the way, that regardless if you could be tracked back to slavery, you would be paid reparations, like $5 million each in reparations. And I talked about the scenario that you could theoretically have in the state of California where the dude that owns slaves, even if he's black, that owns slaves could get $5 million, and then the family that he actually enslaved through history could get $5 million as well. You could have that situation. Of course, putting on our leftist thinking caps here, an oxymoron, obviously, to be sure, one can easily predict that after descendants of slaves are given reparations, then the rest of Black California will receive them soon after to cover the damages caused by alleged systemic racism. A panel in San Francisco, by the way, already wants to give most Black residents that meet certain requirements $5 million each. The number was pulled out of thin air. It was pulled out of there, you know what? So at least at the local level, there seems to be some math involved. Some math. Again, this has been my main question as a math teacher. What's the formula? Like, what are all the variables that are involved in all this? Everybody's family lineage is different. Not everybody's impacted by slavery in the same way. Not everybody's impacted even by slavery. Some people already forked their family tree through the decision making that they made over the course of generations. Most people that are alive today have never even been slaves. The vast majority aren't slaves. There's still slavery going on around the world, by the way. Hell, you don't have to look any further than the Middle East, where people are literally still enslaved. Vast majority have not. So these people are asking for reparations. Most likely, they should have been able to fork their family tree already, but they're going to talk about the systemic racism, Jim Crow, and slavery and stuff that happened before they were ever even alive, before their parents were alive, before their grandparents were alive, but they want $5 million. By the way, they're not just asking for $5 million each. It's actually more than that. We talked about this. They literally want to purchase in San Francisco any house they want for $1. And then they want basically payouts for the rest of their life. and their children's lives. It's insane. According to economists advising the task force, it should be communicated to the public that the substantial initial down payment in the beginning of a conversation about historical injustices, not the end of it. Who will pay for it all? That's the question. Nobody has said, but nothing tells me that basically Newsom is what they're calling him now, has some circles called on him, will try to get the federal government to foot the bill, which means the American taxpayer would pay for it, meaning all of you as well. That's why we talk about this. You might have thought, oh, well, sucks for you, Brad, living in the state of California, sucker. You're going to have to pay for all this. All of us have to pay for this. This is what happens when you got freaking leftists running the country. And this is something Joe Biden supports, by the way. Joe Biden supports reparations. Joe Biden, Karine Jean-Pierre, Kamala Harris, the whole Democratic Party wants you to pay for this stuff, which doesn't solve anything. You've had James Klug, who's a fellow conservative. He's on YouTube, lives very close to me, by the way. Go and actually do a bunch of on the street reporting and asks basically black people about reparations. And you kind of get a split divide on what people think. Some people actually think logically about this stuff, saying that they don't need to get reparations, but some people still think they're victims. Some people still think they're indebted to this. And I think at some point in history they were, which is why we tried to push through reparations. The Democrats didn't want to do it then. And so the time has come and gone, folks. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't enslave anybody. My family are immigrants. They came here legally. They did the work they needed to put in. We forked our family tree. We made good decisions. I'm still working 3 jobs. Do I have to? Probably not, but I still do it because I want to make sure my kids are set up. My kids are set up. So I'm doing certain things to make sure they're taken care of. The question is that what are those people doing to make sure that they could fork their family tree? I just want to point out, you guys, if you just invested $100 a month at the time you're 18 or heck, even somewhere else in life and you have good mutual funds, you could fork your family tree. But people don't want to do it. They come up with some sort of excuse. You know, this happened. I got kids. I got this going on. Oh, I can't do that. You know, people create so much excuse. It's head spinning. Do you want to know the number one characteristic of millionaires? There was a survey done. This was done by Ramsey Solutions, Dave Ramsey's team. They did an observational study on 10,000 millionaires. It's the second biggest study that's ever been done. The number one characteristic that all of them had, it was like 95 to 97% of them had this characteristic, and it was personal responsibility. Basically not having that victimhood mentality. And when they did something wrong, they held themselves accountable. And they also believe that hard work and decision making could make you a millionaire. But a lot of these people don't believe it. I think basically a handout is going to make them a millionaire, which is crazy. I didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. We don't deserve to pay for somebody else's injustice. But as you see from the Democrat Party, they want you to pay for everything, including somebody else's tuition. It's just head spinning. Let me know what you think about that one in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.